Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the Micflayers podcast, coming to you today from the place where we talk about Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Martin O'Dwyer, and I will be your host for today's episode. And joining me, as always, is your host, Conor O'Brien. How are we doing today, Conor?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm very good, as you can probably tell from the intro.
That's a lot of energy, and I gotta tell you, I don't need it.
You gotta try and match Travis, and it's almost
I'm gonna need it. I need you to take it down to like a 4.
We talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, 5. Go 5.
We talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
That's like a 7. Well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And yeah, today we're gonna talk. Just to be totally honest, but we're going to talk about Critically Role Campaign 3, Episode 1. So we are going to go into fairly heavy spoilers, I'd say, Conor, would you?
Yeah, but I mean, it's Episode 1.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's a good 4 hours.
Yeah. So, pause this video, spend 4 hours watching it, then come back.
Yeah. I promise it'll be worth it.
And then watch our video long enough so it's 4 hours, like as many times.
Yeah.
Please, that'd be awesome.
Which would be like, what? That's what? 3 watches, just under 3 watches.
Yeah, like 2.5.
2.5 watches, 3 watches.
So you might as well do 3 at that point, yeah. But yeah, so we're going to go into what happened on the episode, maybe some like theory crafting about why we think it's going to go. You know, the usual stuff we do where we just kind of nerd out about things that have happened and what we're talking about and speculate and theory craft and stuff like that, which is kind of my favorite thing to do in D&D, and particularly with Critical Role, to be honest.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my stopwatch working.
You're grand.
I was trying to start this and it's being annoying.
But yeah, just upfront warning: we are going to spoil quite a lot of what happens in the actual.
I got it working.
Hey, excellent, right on time.
Well, no, not really, but
close enough.
I'm all over the place. Sorry, I was not ready. Remember. Right before you did the intro, and you said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." Yep. I was lying. I apologize.
That's fine, man. That's fine. There's nothing like a little bit of chaos for the intro, you know. Wake us up and shake it up.
May chaos reign.
Yeah, but speaking of intros, Conor, you had a really fun idea for how you thought that campaign 3 was going to kick off, or how we were going to be introduced to the party. Do you want to tell the fine people listening?
Well, Martin, I'm glad you asked. Because we had a lot of ideas about how campaign 3 was going to go. Okay, so we, as a group, we have our own D&D group. We talk about this regularly. Yeah. There are 4 of us in the group. No, so it's 5 of us. I forgot to count myself.
DM syndrome there.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not a player. I'm just a tool. I'm a pawn in this game. Yeah. So there are 5 of us in the group. 4 of us watch Critical Role. So 4 of us said, hey. Well, I think we said it just for fun, talking about what we think is going to come up. I think we all knew, in terms of location, that this campaign was either going to take place in Marquette or Estilra. We've been to Tal'Dorei, we've been to Wildmount. There's another, it's like maybe a subcontinent, I call it. It's like an archipelago of islands called the Shattered Teeth or something like that. It's like south of Wildmount and like the bottom right corner of the map. I didn't think they were going to do there because that's like a very nautical area. You'd have to do like an island hopping thing. We would have seen a lot of that already with the Menagerie Coast in the previous campaign, so I didn't think we were going there. I thought either we're going to go to Isilra, which, if I'm not mistaken, has some like Northern European, like Scandinavian vibes to it and stuff like that, and some like old elemental kind of ties and stuff. It's where a lot of the old stuff with the gods and the elementals and all that kind of stuff came, and I think it's where humans originate in the world as well. So I thought either that place or go to Marquette, because Marquette would be a very, very big change of pace from Wildmount, which tends to be a lot of grasslands, hills, mountains, and snow places. It's a very snowy kind of tundra area as well. So we only really had 2 options I think we were going to go with. I'm glad they went to Marquette. I'm really interested to see, because I think Marquette will offer some really unique cultures for Matt to play around with, both real life cultures and in-game ones that he can kind of inspire and stuff like that.
And we've had a little bit of it already from campaign 1/2/Exandria Unlimited as well, with Gilmore being a rune child.
Yes, because Gilmore, the famous Gilmore, he is famously of Marquesian, thank you. Yeah, he is of Marquesian culture. So I think he made a point in one episode how he worked very hard to like lose his accent or something like that, but because everybody else does not talk like him in Marquette.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was really really good. That was one thing. We tried guessing.
Oh boy,
what...
were we wrong? Oh, if you were following the Micflayers Twitter account there around the time when the episode was previewing, you may have seen me realize exactly how badly we predicted the races and classes.
Yeah, we tried to guess what each person would play based on what we think they like playing and how we maybe.
Did I get a point for Orem? Because I said Liam O'Brien would play a big moody boy.
I'm going to argue that Orem is far less moody than Caleb and Fax.
That's very fair, but he's still a moody boy.
Yeah, I think this is about as
I'm more
low on the
really quiet and just let you do whatever you want and not really talk about much.
I feel like he's really low on the gauge of how moody Liam can get.
Oh yeah. Like that's fair, but he's still like. I bet he's going to be a moody boy, though. I bet he will be.
He'll have some tragic backstory.
I'll get retroactive I'll get retroactive points when that happens. I should get double points for that as well, because that's not only that's a prediction so far into the future. Sorry, I'll stop now.
No. I was just gonna say we made some guesses, and I mean most of us were very very far off.
Yeah.
I can bring up mine here.
I'm going to pull up the actual sheet we have, because we are such big nerds that one of us made a spreadsheet for this.
I'm not going to lie. I think I suggested the spreadsheet, and then Gav took off at a rocket ahead of me, and I was on a call in work, and I'm like, I need to do my job.
I haven't looked at it since. He actually updated the sheet as well with all the correct stuff.
yeah. Which there's a lot of red there. There's a lot of red.
Yeah.
So we'll say just for talk's sake, of all the stuff we guessed, Gavin guessed correctly that Laura would be human. Dan guessed correctly that Travis would be human. That's it in terms of race. We got everything else wrong.
We tried to guess gender and we did like race, class, gender, accent, and random factoid just for crack. And I actually got one right, and it was that Ashley would finally understand her character's class, and it's because she's already played it.
She's been playing it for like 8 sessions already. Yeah.
Oh my god!
And like for class, we got one right of all the guesses across all of them.
Yeah.
Only one, Gavin guessed that Travis would play a fighter, and it's literally the only one any of us guessed right. I'm annoyed because in an earlier version of guesses that I put through, I guessed that Marisha would be a warlock, and she is multi-class warlock sorcerer, and I would have gotten that, but I actually went with paladin.
Do you remember
in my final
a week
guess.
ago in our D&D chat, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if she played her. When Gav was like, oh, people think Ashley's going to play a Fae character based on the dice in the background video. And I was like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually if she played her Fae or her Fae Wildfire Spirit Druid. Lo and behold, like, well after we locked the sheet. We did really well on the genders.
We did really well on the genders, and we all thought Liam would play a woman.
Yeah, for some reason.
We all thought Liam. I just felt. Do you know what? He had. I forget her name. What's her name? Leah Tell?
Leah Tell, yes, the death cleric. The Raven Queen death cleric.
Yeah, I thought maybe he'd bring her back, because I actually thought she was really cool. I loved her design and all that kind of stuff. I thought maybe he'd bring her back. But yeah, no, just so we got everything right on that except those. For accents, I think we went too far. We stretched out way too much. I guessed Liam would go Scottish. I guess Sam would have like a New York accent.
I linked mine to my character guesses, so they were all going to initially be absolutely wrong, unless by some quirk of like luck. Because like I went really weird at mine, because I was like, do you know Taliesin? Talison's a weird individual, and he likes to be strange. He'll play a wizard lizard.
Yeah. What was your guess combination for him? He was a wizard.
A wizard lizard. He was a lizard folk wizard.
A wizard lizard with a English accent, but creepy.
Yeah.
Was the guess you put down?
Yeah. I had some real dumb ones in there. I thought Sam was going to play like a barb of some kind, I believe. Yeah.
I feel like Sam pulled the wool over all of our eyes because so many of us were like, Sam plays small characters. It's what he does, and he's already been
Well, no,
a gnome, a halfling,
Sam
and a
plays what
rogue.
Liam tells
Or
him to
half,
play.
that's true. But he's already been a halfling, a gnome, and a goblin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and they're going to a desert continent. He's definitely going to be a kobold. He's got to be a kobold. No, he's just like, oh no, I'm an automaton, which can be any size I want it to be. Screw you, Connor.
Yeah. And oh god. Okay, so
I am wondering. And I don't have confirmation. Obviously, none of us do. But I am wondering if what he chose to play is the we talked about it last week. Yeah, last week. The gnome, the auto gnome. I wonder if he's using a stat block for the auto gnome because he doesn't look like an auto gnome. He actually looks like a gnome or a robot out of maybe Ratchet and Clank.
I was going to say he looks very like Clank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very very like Clank. He looks like all the info bots you get in the first game.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love the design. But yeah, he's very much. I thought we didn't see any hard mechanics that would show it just yet, but I thought maybe he's using that stat block because it's relatively new. That would be a good one. If not, he's probably just using a Warforged stat block that they modified a little bit so that he's a small size creature.
Yeah, it could also be something from one of the books that are due to come out as well.
Oh yeah, exactly, and that's actually the thing. Like, so we kind of got a bit duped because so many of the stuff that they're using seems to be either UA or maybe homebrew stuff that is possibly going to show up in the upcoming Tal'Dorei
Reborn, and then
Tal'Dorei Reborn book. Yeah,
and then we also have Call of the Netherdeep.
And Call of the Netherdeep. So I like there's no classes appearing in that book, but I think that. That book will give us some really cool insight into Marquette as a setting, as a place, which I'm very interested in. But the Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn book, that one is going to have like I think it says like 8 subclasses or something.
I've got it open here.
Not 9.
9 subclasses, 5 backgrounds, and magic items such as the Vestiges of Divergence. And I think I was reading it in another spot where I think they said over a dozen new magic items.
Yeah, that's really cool. This is the crunch. This is why I buy the books. I mean, like, I will buy entire books. If you tell me there's 2 subclasses coming out in a new book, I will buy that book just for those 2 subclasses. I need the crunch. Pretty much, yeah. I don't plan on ever running Theros as a world, but the subclasses that are in that are pretty cool.
So. Monsters in it are really cool as well, particularly the mythic ones.
Yeah, the introduction of mythic monsters. Yeah, they're fun because I've been giving out about this for fucking years that there's no 10 minutes in, I can say that. Yeah, cool. But I've been giving out for years that there's no Cerberus,
yeah.
In D&D. I'm like, but we have minotaurs and griffins and hippogriffs and everything else. Surely we should have that. And then we finally got 2 versions of them in that book, which kind of fills it out. But yes, I want to talk about. Oh, sorry, you originally asked me what I thought. How it would open, like what kind of opening they would have. In my head, I like hot starts. I like telling someone, hey, starting a campaign and going, and you find yourself here in the forest. As you're walking along the trail, you hear a snapping of a twig. Roll for initiative. I like getting people right into the action. And I feel like the game has rules and mechanics, so when I say roll for initiative, take your turn, make an attack roll, these are all things that have definitive ways of doing it, and I feel like that gets you into the game, and then after the fight, it's very easy for someone to go, oh my god, where did these displacer beasts come from? Oh, are you guys okay? And then it just starts the conversation a little bit,
Yeah.
It gives you something to talk about rather than going like, you're in a tavern and it looks like this, and then I'm like, so what would you like to do? And then people are like, I get a drink, I guess. Yeah, it's like kiss. So yeah, I mean, like I find hot starts are great. I thought they were. It was a bit of a wild guess, but I had confidence in it. I thought they would do a shipwreck. I thought Matt would have some of them coming, possibly from a ship that maybe stopped in a couple locations, but originated in the Menagerie Coast, and then sailed to Marquette and got attacked by a sea monster or a storm or something along the way, and they washed up on a beach that is it's a beach that continues just into desert, and they're like, oh man, we need to find any sort of civilization, and then immediately we're into like a survival situation. They would work together because they have to, because it's like, all right, we're all alive, that's good, are you guys okay? Cool, we need to find out where we're going and how we're getting there. Who has like food and supplies that's band together, and that's the situation, the tense situation that will then bonds them as a group of people, as survivors, you know. That's what I thought. I was wrong again. As usual, starting in a tavern.
Did it?
Well,
No, it
yeah,
didn't.
well,
It didn't. It started with It's just started in like the middle of the street, like with the two girls heading to the
it
university.
started in a cable car, didn't it?
Sorry, that's correct. Yeah, it started in the cable car.
Which I never. How was I ever meant to guess it starts in a cable car?
True, that's fair. Yeah. No, I didn't even try and like conceptually come up with anything, because like it kind of went how I thought it would go, and in terms of like how I've seen with campaign 2 how that first episode went, where they start off with all these disparate stories that kind of like pass each other, sort of like ships in the night style, and then something happens that causes those threads to get tangled up. And that's pretty much exactly what happened here with I believe the first two we were introduced to were Marisha and Laura's characters. Marisha is playing Laudna, and Laura is playing
Imogen Tumult.
Yes, Imogen. And yeah,
Great choice of name, by the way, Imogen.
yeah. And I really like Laudna because it's very clearly like it's drawn from the word laudanum, which is like a sleeping medicine.
No, it's straight away those two characters. I was really glad. A bunch of us gets a bunch of different accents for Laura. I'm glad she's gone with the kind of southern belting. She's also a native Texan.
Yeah, so let the Texas come in strong there.
Yeah, so I was really glad to see that, because I was disappointed when Travis changed his accent halfway through last campaign. I liked Texan Ford, because in my head it's like, even when I played Red Dead 2, I named my horse Ford, because I'm like, it's cowboys and stuff, you know. But I was happy to see Laura brought that through and carried it on. She is playing a human sorcerer. I don't think we know what subclass she is yet. It would seem to be a...
Yeah, I can't quite remember. For some reason I wanted to say... No, because we only saw her use sorcery points, I think. She just twin spelled the Witch Bolt.
That's right. She has. Yeah, I'm looking at like character information here on the wiki is what I have at the moment.
And yeah, I think Crit Roll Stats also has info up about it.
Yes, she has her meta magic. They all starting at level 3 actually. That was interesting.
I'm glad of that.
They're all starting at level 3 except for Travis, who's level 5.
Oh, I did not spot that.
Yeah, because he came in very late in the episode, and I spotted it. It was interesting because it's always interesting when players are at different skill levels. I think the thing is because the character he's playing is Bertrand Bell, who was a character he played in a one-shot in the Search for Grog one-shot.
Yeah.
And Bertrand was already old at that point. He was like in his 50s. Now he's in like his 70s. And I guess it kind of makes sense how his skills would depreciate over the years a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the reason he's level 5 is to justify that, hey, he once genuinely did some absolutely otherworldly stuff with a different team. He's in his twilight years. So
and he just
things have trickled off.
He just got like the absolute shit kicked out of him as well when he did that. Do you remember when there was that point in the Search for Grog where it would be like they'd get around to the boss's attacks, and the boss had like 3 attacks each round, and they'd be like, all right, I'm gonna hit this person. Yeah, and Bertrand is getting hit as well, and he'd be on like 10 HP, and I'm like, oh god, and then like bang bang bang, it's like, okay, Bertrand's unconscious again, and then I'd get around to Scanlan's turn, he's gonna go, I'm gonna do this, and I'm going to heal Bertrand Bell, just to bring it back, and then the next turn was, all right, Bertrand's going down again, I'm gonna kill Bertrand.
Yeah,
I do like.
Yeah, I was really shocked, just because I don't know. I'm my own kind of enemy in this, because I would often argue that fighters are really, really interesting. If you add the right character to them, they can be such colorful, interesting people, and they don't come with the baggage of being like, hey, you're a draconic sorcerer, so you have to have something draconic about you. If you're a fighter, you're like, hey, I can just say I was trained by dragons on how to fight. My sword movements like copy the swoops and motions of dragons through the air. Like, but again, that's not a class. That's not a subclass. That's not even a background. It's just something you totally come up with by yourself. They're such great blank slates. But then again, I also do find watching them maybe is a little bit. It isn't as exciting as someone coming in and being like, "Oh, my character is decrepit and half dead, and I cast necrotic spells and all this other stuff."
Hi, Laudna. Great with kids.
Yeah, great with kids. I'm just checking here, because I could be wrong, and I feel like, oh no, maybe not. Okay, I could have sworn that I'm just looking up about Leah Tell, Liam's character. I could have sworn she died at
She
some
did.
point. Maybe she just.
She got killed in the search for Grog.
And did they bring her back?
I don't know, but I know she dropped pretty damn early. She dropped like I think maybe like second or third round of the fight with the. It was something. It was like something Imperial. I can't remember the name of it.
I think I have it here. So I think she did go down.
Because Liam was not involved in the latter stages of that.
Yeah. I think she went down, but at that level, they had such high-level people. I think they probably brought her back easily enough.
Oh yeah, no, she died, but I think they probably did bring her back.
Yeah. So yeah. What was I saying? I was saying about the start. So yeah. So we started off with Laura and Marisha. That was another thing. I think one of us guessed. I said Marisha will be the last character introduced.
Yeah.
Is what I said. She was the second, I think. So I was completely off there. Gav actually had that Laura be the first character, and she was.
Yeah, Gav kicked their ass in the predictions.
Yeah, he did pretty well. I mean, well, none of us did well. Actually, I should say that. Okay, none of us actually did well, but
it's a sliding scale.
Yeah. It's none of us did well, but of us, Gav did the best.
Yes.
So that was Laura's character, kind of a Southern Belle sorcerer of some kind. We still don't know, but I'm interested to kind of find out.
So many good options for sorcerer as well.
There is. I'm kind of surprised that
Actually,
anyone
you
went
know what?
sorcerer.
There's one I don't think she is, and I don't think she's a shadow sorcerer.
No, I'm. Part of me is actually wondering if she's an aberrant mind sorcerer.
I was wondering if she. I was thinking maybe Clockwork Soul.
That could be it too. I just noticed. We know she has
in EXU, and I reckon she maybe could have been like, oh,
he was
cool.
a divine soul. I thought in EXU.
I thought he was Clockwork Soul.
I'm almost certain he was divine soul.
Oh, good. Fair enough. You've probably watched more of it than I have.
So what we know about Imogen abilities wise is she has characteristics of, but not definitively, the telepathic and telekinetic feats.
Yes.
And because she's a human, she would start off with at least one of them potentially. She used Twin Spell as a meta magic. She had Catapult and Witch Bolt spells, and she also used Detect Thoughts at one point. Now, the Detect Thoughts seemed to be some sort of innate thing, potential. Well, no, because I remember. Yeah, I don't know. I get the feeling that she's putting her own spin on an aberrant mind. Is aberrant mind sorcerer? Is that what it's still called?
Aberrant mind, yeah.
Yeah, I get the impression that she's putting a bit of a spin on that, which is interesting because again, we have an aberrant mind sorcerer in our party, but he very much leans into the Cthulhu, Lovecraftian, really dark stuff there, of being really creepy and stuff like that.
She could have just taken the isn't there a telepathy feat that you can take?
You might have just taken that as well, but I'm interested to see if she's building like almost like a Scarlet Witch style character where she has all of these like really cool telepathic powers, and because Matt has so many cool spells with all of the gravity stuff that came with the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount.
Yeah.
There's loads of spells. She could have reverse gravity, she could have levitate, she could have pulse wave, there's like dark void or dark star.
Gravity
there's a bunch
well.
of those really.
I think that's one.
Gravity well I think is one as well. There's a bunch of those.
I think it's called Singularity is the one you're thinking of maybe.
Possibly, but it's a bunch of those anyway, and they're like if you really wanted to, I think
there's like Adjust Density is another one. Oh, that's a class ability of the Graviturgist.
Mm-hmm. So I think maybe she could be leaning into that and making kind of a really heavy Jean Grey / Scarlet Witch character where she just has insane kind of powers. She did kind of seem like she had some issues with controlling it, so maybe she is leaning into the Phoenix thing a little bit.
Or maybe wild magic.
Possibly wild as well. I mean, do you remember?
That's what I thought Taliesin was before. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Sorry, we'll get to that.
But when she was leaving there's some sort of college or place of study there.
Yeah.
She was leaving that, and she asked, could she try and do a telepathic ability of some kind? And when it failed, she then Matt described her as having these intense headaches as a result, and she also hates being around people. And I get the impression it's because she can't block out. Yeah, she can't block out people's thoughts. They creep in, and it gets too loud for her, which is really, really interesting. I kind of get the impression she wants to gain more control over that, so she can exist in the world without having to be swarmed with people's thoughts and stuff. It's very cool. So far, I'm super interested to find out where that goes. Anyway,
the plotline the two of them seem to be on initially, anyway, is that two of them are trying to get entry into this particular university or like a college of study, so that they can access its libraries to look into something that both of them are interested in. And I suppose that'll bring us on to Laudna, who. Laudna, in my mind, is like Warlock Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, she's Cruella de Vil with just a little bit more grudge thrown in there.
Yeah, she's this like pale, spindly limbed, black and white haired Warlock Sorcerer multiclass. We found out when her sheet came up.
She's a Warlock Sorcerer multiclass, and the Warlock part is the Warlock of the Undead, because she had that transformation
she's the Undead
ability.
form, yes. She all her limbs lengthened, and she got all like drippy and weird. Is I suppose the best way to put it.
She went full grudge.
Yeah, she did full on turn into the Grudge Girl.
Yeah. So a form of dread, it's called. Yeah. So at least we have confirmation on that. At this point, I guess, if she's level 1 sorcerer, do you choose your subclass of sorcerer at level 1?
I think you do. Isn't it like sorcerer and cleric? You get your
Yeah, because they're so innate to sorcerer's origin is level 1. Yeah, so she would have an origin of some kind. She could be shadow
for sure. I would call
almost certainly.
Is there? I can't remember. Is there an undead patron? Is there an undead? No, there isn't an undead warlock sorcerer. That's all warlock stuff.
Yeah,
and her patron is the undead, obviously, for warlock. Sorry, I think we've said that already.
Yes, it's the undead. Yeah, I think there's a couple. There's the undead one, which is relatively new.
There's
right?
undead and
there's
undying.
Also,
is that the other one?
I think the undying is the other one. That was an older one. Yeah. So those are the two. She's definitely undead, as far as her warlock patron goes. Yeah, it's hard to say where her sorcerer origin is at the moment, because we haven't seen any specific abilities other than she didn't even use meta magic actually. No. So it's hard to say.
She just used what even did she? Yeah, she just turned into her form of dread, I think.
She used Eldritch Blast and Bane.
Bane is such a great spell.
And she used her form of dread. The only thing she did. Interesting. Yeah, you mentioned this, but it's here on the wiki as well. Laudna's name is likely derived from laudanum, an opium tincture widely used as a pain medication by the 19th century. Interesting.
Yeah, it shows up. It's how you keep your sanity, I think, in Amnesia.
Oh, okay, cool. Yes.
Yeah, and it shows up in a lot of like Lovecraftian stuff as well. I think it was either thought to. It was either given to or thought to help like mentally unstable people or mentally unwell people. But yeah, it was like an opioid.
So that she's quite interesting. We don't know what race she is yet. By her appearance, she's very pale and kind of scary looking. We're guessing either
Fallen Asmar.
Sorry?
I think Fallen Asmar personally.
Possibly. She could be a Fallen Asmar. I think she could also be one of the
a return or a Hexblade.
A return. Well, Hexblade I think is the Fey one. Yeah, I don't think she's the Fey one.
But she's not all like stitched together and stuff, is she?
She's not. But that doesn't. You don't have to necessarily be stitched together. I think you can just be, kind of.
I thought. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that again in a second. I keep going like, I thought this person was this. I'm like, no, we'll get to them.
So my guess is at the moment she's either a Dampier, but I didn't see her being too vampiric. But maybe. Yeah. The Hexblood is the one that's for the Fae. I don't think she's that one, or she's possibly the Reborn, which is the reanimated body one. Both could be pretty cool. Both are extremely dark, which I like though.
She let slip some very interesting stuff. Where she mentioned she was from Whitestone, or she used to be from Whitestone, and she said it was a horrible place. She was like a shithole or something.
She said something about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Now, it's possible she left at the time when the Briarwoods were in power. In which case, she may have left because it was a shithole, because they were in power. It was all run down and
her
awful.
Gav had a theory that I really liked. Was that she was maybe like some Briarwood relative or like a child of the Briarwoods. Um,
She could
what
be.
I thought, which I liked, but what I thought was probably a little more likely because I don't know if vampires can reproduce. Um, but like, do you remember there was that duke or that count that they ran out of Whitestone first? Because before they attacked the Briarwoods, they took down like all of their inner circle first, and it was that one where Sam turned into a dinosaur inside that guy's house.
I do. Yes. Sorry, I
Yeah,
was drinking water.
I would not be surprised if she's like his daughter.
Yeah. What if she's also that could be true. She could be. She could have been. I think it'd be interesting just to have her from interesting in and of itself, just to have her be from Whitestone, and maybe she lived there at a time when the Briarwoods were in power, but before Vox Machina showed up. But I think it could also be super super interesting, like to have her be a
Yeah,
relative of someone like that, or
and like
like Percy
her
has.
patron is the undead as well. If she's an undead warlock, you can pick a vampire as your patron. And
That is true.
isn't Silas Barrett still alive?
No, I
Oh,
think they destroyed
they
him.
destroyed him at the end of the Dallin's closet one shot, didn't they?
I think so. Yes,
Yeah,
because he came back in that. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Um, Possibly, and you can absolutely have a vampire as your patron when you're an undead warlock. Sorry. Um, yeah. So that's totally possible. I would like to see. I'm wondering. Here, I'm going to throw this out there. How many? Because Percy had a ton of brothers and sisters.
yes, he did.
What if she's one of them reanimated but doesn't remember being a Dorolo?
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
That'd be very cool, particularly if Taliesin doesn't know and
Yeah,
Marisha's gonna drop that on him halfway through the campaign.
even better if Marisha doesn't know, and Matt's going to drop that on both of them in the middle of the campaign.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
She's going,
think.
I'm from Whitestone. I'm creepy and weird. Do what you want.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think some of the best some of the best story stuff, in my opinion, that I've done and that I've seen Matt do, for in terms of personal arcs or characters, comes when you've given the DM less to go on. Give him like, you gave me only like with Lug. You told me, look, my name is I'm Lug. I'm like a Celtic warrior style. I'm what I think you said. You were involved in a battle
Yeah, I was.
and left to die on a battlefield.
Yeah, I said I woke up chained to a rock, with, like horribly wounded after a battle, but like all of my allies dead around me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was it. You mentioned that the country you come from, you want to have like a Celtic kind of feel to it. And I was like, that's cool, sounds excellent.
Yeah, I think I gave you
Um,
the clans as well.
I think you did for the Hound clan. I
Yeah,
think I
you came up with
came
the
up with the
rest.
other
Yeah,
ones then. Yeah. So you said my clan is the Hound clan. We're like all about loyalty to one another, like a pack would be, and
yeah,
all this. And yeah, but I spun it off from there. And we had a really cool arc where you had a civil war and you had to kill the Bear Queen and all this other stuff. Like and it came out well. And I think with because the more you give, sometimes there's too many moving parts for the GM to have to incorporate. So I think if Marisha has done that now and she just came to Matt and said, hey, I want to play these two subclasses. I want to be like a creepy undead lady. And just for kicks, I think I'll be from Whitestone. And then he go. I can imagine Matt going, okay, okay, cool. I can totally run with that, you know. So yeah,
How did Delilah Briarwood die again? Did she get sucked into that annihilation sphere, or did someone? I feel like that happened in my head. She either got disintegrated or sucked into the annihilation sphere.
I'm having a hard time remembering. I think
To be fair now, it has been a while.
I go back every now and again. I'll pop on a random episode from campaign one as background noise. But rarely do I. I haven't actually watched through campaign one
Oh,
since my original watch through. Like, um,
how did she die?
uh, while you're talking about that, there, I'm going to hop on to another character. If that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So we'll get a couple of these out of the way because there's a couple more
Oh
I want to
no,
talk about more in depth.
Vex shot her in the head with an arrow.
Oh, there you go. That'll do it. And then, yeah, interesting.
That makes sense
Actually,
because didn't Delilah Briarwood disintegrate Vax,
she did.
and that's why he came back as the.
Oh no, that was Vecna did that.
Oh, sorry, no, was it not Delilah first? Delilah disintegrated him, and then he came back as the Matt Homebrew, the Revenant.
I could have sworn that was Vecna, but maybe I'm wrong. I do have something that just occurred to me with regards Marisha's character.
Go on.
The Dalen's Closet episode took place in a coastal, like, holiday town in Marquette. And that's where Silas Briarwood went to go and try and kill Vex, I think, for having killed Delilah. And he was killed there. What if Marisha's character is a servant of Silas and is looking for him? Because she knows maybe his mist is still wandering.
That's what I was
Marquette.
wondering. Like I know they killed him, but when you kill a vampire, it goes into mist form. But like I know they have both Pike and Keyleth on hand there who can do like Sunbeam.
Yeah, which can destroy a mist relatively easily, particularly at that high level. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. Maybe she's not even like looking to save him. Maybe she wants to find his essence and absorb it, or something like
resurrect
that,
him.
Yeah, exactly. That could be super, super interesting. And would be a fun tie back to campaign 1.
Weirdly, I think she's like my top 3 favorite characters already. I really like Laudna just for how weird she is. Like,
yeah, I think Marisha's doing a knockout job of playing her, particularly when she's just like being creepy. She's so friendly. She's such a friendly character, but she's so inherently creepy to be around and look at that it's hilariously comical to,
I love
watch
the bit
her
with
work.
the bit where the kids, where like Marisha is like playing with where Laudna's like playing with kids in the street, and she sees like 2 kids looking at her, and she like jumps over, is like and they all go and they run away, and she's like, what? I'm being fun, scary. I mean, she like looks behind at like Imogen's like, I'm fun, scary, aren't I? And she's like, no, you're just scary.
You're real scary, sorry. And she's like, oh. Yeah, I like that. She seems just like almost innocent to a degree.
Yeah, isn't aware of how horrifying she is.
Exactly, yeah. A couple ones I want to talk about because I feel like we can talk about them, but we don't have to talk hugely about them.
Sure.
We have 4 returning characters.
Yes.
So we talked about Travis playing Bertrand Bell, his human fighter from a one-shot, but he's bringing that back.
Actually, one thing I didn't mention about Bertrand Bell, he's got a gambler's blade, which I really like.
Yeah, I need to find out the functionality of that.
I think it's one where you roll dice. You roll like an additional dice during the attack roll when it hits to see what kind of additional effects it has. I think he's got the gambler's rapier. I know when they did the Search for Grog episode.
It's here on the webs on the thing. So each day at dawn, the attuned wielder can choose a magical bonus of 1 to 3, giving the gambler's blade that bonus to its attack and damage rolls. The wielder takes a corresponding penalty, 1 to 3 to their death saving throws. The sword is cursed that the wielder bound to it wants to remain bound to it and feels compulsion to keep it on them. A remove curse can remove that. That's really interesting. So
I think
that's.
There's like I think there's another one like that though, where it's got like specific abilities tied to the suits of cards. I think it might be the legendary version or something,
Maybe, but I think that's fantastic. I really like that. A definite gamble to take. But yeah, and Travis, we said already,
will Travis be the one to drop this campaign?
Yeah. So in the Search for Grog thing, he was in his 50s or early 60s. Now he's in like his 70s or knocking his 80s, which is hilarious.
I love how he plays it as well. It's so good.
He plays him like a straight up like old man who can barely stay awake during the evening time and stuff like that.
The bit where like Orem comes to talk to him and he's like just talking to him, and you see Travis just
immediately starts dozing off.
Yeah, that was so good. Like, that was so good. I love, like, it did throw me a bit because I'm so used to Travis playing like there's like Grog and Ford, and they're like these big, like, impressive, like, powerful, strong characters, and then now he's playing Bertrand Bell, who the last time I saw him spent an hour getting the shit pummeled out of him by a giant, dropping and coming back to life only to get pummeled the shit out of him again. And so he's a comedy character for me, so I'm looking forward to seeing whatever kind of messed up, like, he seems like it's his character, the direction his story is going, seems like at some point that bravado, that confidence is going to really shatter, and he's going to have a very, 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 like, both sad and very deep character moment.
Yeah.
Like, there will be some reason as to why he need, like, there'll have to be a reason where he comes forward to why he needs to constantly be like, I am the best, I did this, I'm looking forward to seeing that character moment.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see him. I part of me is just a tad disappointed that we're not getting all new characters, you know. But only a little bit. I mean, the characters we got are still great.
And to be fair, with the returning characters, the three of them we have only seen 3 levels of, or however many.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think Bertrand will be interesting. Travis, with campaign 1 really didn't do Travis justice. Well, it didn't. He didn't get to have a lot of poignant character moments because Grog really wasn't that character. He got a lot of comedy stuff. Travis is actually like he's kind of a bit of a dark horse when it comes to comedy in the show.
Comedic genius. He's like chaos. He's just pure like chaos. Like, do you remember that thing in campaign 1 where Terry comes in, or Terry and Darrington comes in, and then like they're in the shop and Grog, like, something happens with the guards, and then like Grog knocks the guards out, and then there's like,
well, that was him in Scanlan.
No, that was Terry.
Oh, I thought it was Scanlan.
No, it was Terry, because he knocks the guards out, and Terry's like freaking out. He's like, what should I do? And Grog's like, puke on him. And he's like, what? He's like, puke on him now. And it's like, wah, and like trying to puke on him.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think playing off this now, this is definitely very different. I'm not surprised Travis went fighter, because Travis likes martial characters. Even when he played a warlock, he played Hexblade, and he went into Paladin as well. I didn't think he was going to go Paladin. I thought he'd go Dragonborn Ranger. Personally, I thought he'd do like the new upcoming
Drake Warden
Ranger or something like that. I thought it'd be great, but I am still interested to see where this is going with him.
I'm very surprised there were no monks. That's one thing that caught me. I was very surprised.
I mean, yeah, people. I mean, last campaign, people really, really liked Bo as a character, and Marisha had a lot of fun playing her. I think I was really surprised. I think I guessed Laura for monk, because I was like, I thought. I'm not. Now that it's happened, I'm also not surprised Laura's gone sorcerer. It's like she played a cleric only for the damaging primarily and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that she's taken the sorcerer, which is the quintessential blaster class of 5e. So that should be interesting. I the other 3 characters that we got. So we got Travis. Ashley and Liam have returned. Liam is playing Orm, his halfling battlemaster fighter.
Yes.
Ashley is playing Fern Calloway, her fawn druid, which I'm really cool. Glad that we're seeing some more stranger races included. You know, not just elves and humans and dwarves and stuff. We're getting a bit of a mix.
Yeah, and there's 2 of them we still don't actually know what they
are. They're
3. Sorry, 3. There's one of them you're about to mention.
Who are we talking about?
Like, okay, so we don't know what it hasn't actually been said what Marisha's character's race is. We're just best guesses. And then I don't believe they said what Talison's race was.
Oh no, well, okay, something very interesting about that, and I wanted to bring this up, right? So they said he's an Earth Genasi, right?
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, that's why he has all the grey skin and the kind of crystalline hair.
I thought he was a returned.
But see, you said this though, right? And here's the thing. Like, okay, so I think that on the surface, we actually haven't seen him do anything strictly Earth Genasi yet, right? Or Genasi or Genasi or whatever they call it. We haven't seen him use any like his strict Earth Genasi abilities just yet. And he does look like an Earth Genasi. He has a stone skin. He has the kind of gem hair, but he has all these cracks with these metal fillings, like he's been patched back together.
Yeah.
So like his whole right arm
and he's got a
whole right side of his body.
Giant hole in the side of his head.
Yes, it looks like someone took a hammer to the side of his head and cracked open his skull because you can see his like kind of purplish
It's
amethyst
I
brain.
can't remember what there's a specific kind of rock gem where it's like a stone that's been cut in half and you can see all the inside of it. And
A
it's all,
geode.
yes, sorry, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the interior of his skull looks like a fucking geode.
Yeah, and you can look in the side of his head and see the
Yeah.
inside, and like so even though he looks like an Earth Ganassi on the outside, I'm thinking that maybe at some point he was struck in the head, killed, and then because all the cracks he has on his left side are filled in with gold, like someone put him back together.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, is he actually a reborn that has been literally pieced back together?
I'm going to stick with it because I think it is. I think he has been.
If we're calling it now, and if it happens, all right, today
Micflayers
is
first. Micflayers goddamn first.
Micflayers first. Call it now. Today is the 24th of October, 2021. If it is revealed if that Talison's character in that Critical Role Campaign 3 is not an Earth Ganassi, but is in fact a reborn Earth Ganassi, we're geniuses.
I'll push it a little further and I'll say he's a reborn Earth Ganassi, reborn and made by the person who made Freshly Cut Grass.
Ooh, interesting. Oh. I'm having revelations as I'm sitting here. He's covered in gold. All his thing is stitched back together in gold, right?
Yep. And Freshly Cut Grass is entirely.
It's an entirely gold robot.
Mm-hmm. And the creator isn't around anymore.
And the creator isn't around. Is Talison's character, who is named Ashton, actually the creator of Freshly Cut Grass?
I don't think
who
so,
got killed?
because Freshly Cut Grass always refers to their creator as she.
Okay.
I don't think that Ashton is his creator. But like, did they say how? I can't remember. Because I was stupid and stayed up till 5 a.m. Irish time to watch the first 2 hours of it when I was getting up at 9 a.m. Irish time for work. But yeah, I can't. So my memory gets a slightly bit hazy. But did they say
How the two met?
Yeah, how the two met?
I think they just said that they've been traveling for a couple of months together.
Okay.
But I don't think that they've gotten into any great detail about that. I'm thinking now that even if Ashton is not the creator, potentially Ashton was repaired by the creator using some of the gold from freshly cut grass.
What if the gold used to fix him is what used to make up the other automatons? Like she melted down the other automatons to,
and that's why he's not there. Well, the other ones aren't there anymore, or something like that.
Because they were melted down to fix Ashton.
I have a feeling as well that but
I think that might be a step too far. I think I'm just theory crafting a little too much. I reckon probably two separate stories.
Yeah.
Because those are two. Because if he is a reborn, right? You've got the reborn and you've got FCG, Freshly Cut Grass, who's an automaton. So you can do you can do two versions of the what does it really mean to be alive story. Because you've got the reborn and you've got an automaton, both of whom aren't really alive.
Yeah, I'm confident.
You can do Frankenstein, and you can also do like the robot that wants to be human,
that gains sentience.
Frankenstein and Vision, basically.
Yeah, I'm confident in the guess that we have that he's actually a reborn, that he was killed by a blow to the head.
I'm on like 90% confident on that.
Yeah, same. And I do think the gold is potentially something to do with that ties in with Fresh Cut Grass. I think we'll actually. You might as well
I was going to say, should we jump on to FCG, the best character?
Yeah, the best character so far.
She named us after her favorite things. There was oatmeal.
No.
The way he just deadpanned that killed me.
So many videos. There's like 5 or 6 separate videos I've seen of people just clipping that moment from the first episode. If anyone is wondering, go onto YouTube, just type in funny moment, Critical Role Campaign 3 Episode 1, and it's the only thing that will come up.
Or just type in how Fresh Cut Grass got his name.
That's true. He does as well. So Sam is playing an automaton. We mentioned this earlier. He's playing an automaton cleric of some kind. The cleric would seem to be a homebrew.
Literally, by the way, I saw this as a message in the Twitch chat, and it's the only time Twitch chat has ever been anything positive in my life. Someone said, "Oh my god, Sam literally made a heal bot."
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I hope that's the exact words Liam said, to make a heal bot, and then Sam went, "Okay, motherfucker."
Yeah, so he's some sort of cleric. He's definitely homebrew because he used some sort of ability, like some sort of sympathy ability.
No, that's not homebrew. That's just warding bond.
Well, warding bond is a spell you have to cast beforehand.
Yeah, he cast it this turn before.
Did he?
Yeah.
On Bertrand?
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
I distinctly remember his first turn he cast a warding bond. I'm like this. I'm almost as sure as Taliesin is a reborn.
The only thing that it says here that he's cast is Shield of Faith, Detect Thoughts, and Spiritual Weapon.
Oh crap! Sorry. Yes, it was Shield of Faith, not warding bond that he cast. Why
Yeah.
did I think that? Sorry. Again, 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's okay. But yeah, I think so Sam. This is probably one of those moments where Sam understood the assignment in terms of
Sam very much understood the assignment this time around.
Yeah. So he made himself an automaton character of some kind. Like I said, it's possibly homebrew, but I think it's more likely that he either used a Warforged or the Auto Gnome stat block in place, and just reskinned it a little bit.
I was trying to think when he was introduced as FCG, could that be like a clever, because it's Sam. I was like, could that be a clever acronym for that? So I was like, formerly corporeal gnome.
Maybe. Yeah, because I remember in the last campaign
he couldn't acronym formerly auto gnome.
Formerly, well, yeah, he couldn't. No, definitely not. Sorry, I think that for a second. Don't acronym that.
Don't acronym that.
But like, I remember in the last camp, like Sam is. I know Sam's really goofy and silly, but he's actually a fucking genius.
And evil genius at that.
Yeah, and like I remember in the last campaign, there was a point in an episode of Talks Machina or something like that, where he talked about early in the campaign when he was disguised as a, or not disguised rather, but in the form of a goblin. At 3 different points, he gave 3 different false names, and he gave the name Veth at one point.
Yeah. He
gave the name Bren at another point, and he gave the name NATO at a third point. And these were months or weeks apart, and he revealed, he's like, oh yeah, there was like 3 separate times where I had to give a false name, and I gave the name Veth, Bren, Otto. Otto was the third one.
Yes.
And then he was like, but then later on we find out that not actual name is Veth Brenato. But again, this was months in the making and stuff like that, and it wasn't even really for much of a payoff other than a kind of like, oh my god moment. But yeah, I mean, I think the fresh cut grass thing could very, very easily be something like that. I also think that character is really, really nice and friendly.
Yeah.
I think he has something super sketch going on. I think he's actually like a murder bot. Who maybe misunderstood his reasoning or something like that,
Yeah,
I feel like
that's the
at
Clank
some point,
story, isn't it? Clank was a defective version of this like terrible, like gigantic
Yeah.
bot.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he's or like almost Iron Giant style, where he has like kill functions,
I do love that. No, the other automatons are all gone because. Sorry, that was it. The other automatons are all gone because he said his backstory, fresh cut grass. Now that I remember. He said his backstory is that he went in to clear out a cave with his party and they all died except for him because he was powered down.
Yeah, which makes me think that when he powered down, a different function took over, and he's maybe the one who did the killing.
Ooh, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Like he has a
saw blade that he like switches onto his hand and stuff to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I genuinely think that he is like.
Oh, it'd be so cool if this is complete. I don't know how they do it in D&D, but if at some point he made himself a Voltron, that would be sick. That would just be sick. But that might just be my deep love of the Power Rangers kicking in.
Entirely possible. There's a lot of love there for the Power Rangers. Yeah, when he said that, he said, "Oh, I don't know what happened. I was powered down." I was like, "Why would you be powered down when everyone else is doing a job
On watch
and
as well.
yeah, exactly. And what he's meant to be on watch. And I'm thinking to myself, because I know that most automatons, like Warforged and the Autonome, can stay conscious to be able to keep watch while others are sleeping. So, like, why would you power down to a state where you're no longer aware of your scenario? Surely, like, what if you power down and an alternate function took over and then you did the killing? What if he was the one who murdered his own friends?
Yeah.
You know?
A little voice in his head just goes, Alexa, rip and tear.
Yeah.
I had to say that really quietly because I have one right here.
Oh, okay.
And his eyes glow red and rip and tear from Doom starts, and you just see the shadows of this tiny robot tearing all these other robots apart.
I have a feeling that there's something really messed up like that in his backstory.
He's way too positive to not be like a real headfuck later on.
Yeah, absolutely. A second prediction for campaign 3 from your friends at the Micflayers podcast. Sam, I actually made a guess that that whatever character Sam made, he'd be some sort of trash fiend. Like either he would either sleep in trash or rummage through trash or eat trash, and he was eating scrap metal in the episode, and I got points for that.
Yeah, it's some bolts.
Which
is very Ratchet and Clank actually.
It's so Ratchet and Clank. It's insane how Ratchet and Clank he is playing this character. But I feel like that's maybe that's a prediction for me. I think maybe he has like an alternate like function there, that he is actually like really aggressive or a killbot of some kind, and maybe he did the killing. And I also feel like Ashton is a reborn, possibly somehow tied into that story, but it could just be completely random as well.
Yeah, it could be. It's the gold he's been remade from though is so.
That's the only thing linking it. And honestly, I could see Taliesin just deciding that instead of tattoos on regular flesh, on your stony flesh, you have like gold inlay instead. Yeah. I could totally see Taliesin coming up with that of his own volition with no link to Sam. But yeah, again, it would also. Yeah, I'd be interested to find out more about Ashton. I think actually he's really cool as a character.
Also, we don't know what his subclass is.
We don't. So yeah, here's the thing.
I thought he was the wild magic barbarian at first.
Same. I thought possibly wild magic. I thought at first that maybe he would go like Storm Herald and pick the fire one, and maybe when he went into his mode, he would crack and like lava would drip out of him or something.
That'd be very cool.
I thought it'd be very cool, yeah. But yeah, so he has a couple of things here. His Primal Path is an unknown homebrew subclass, again, possibly appearing in the upcoming Tal'Dorei Reborn book.
I think it might have been Gav said it in our chat or something, but I saw somewhere it was called Path of the Singularity.
Yeah, which would be on brand for Matt, because he tends to weave the science stuff into his fantasy, as we've seen with the Graviturgist and the Chronologist as well. Yeah, so I think, and again, if Matt is trying to continue, because he has his own brand of spells and sci-fi-ish stuff in D&D with alternate dimensions and space and time manipulation and stuff like that. If he wants to continue that Dunamancy thread from the previous campaign into this one, this would be a great way to do it, to build the Dunamancy barbarian class that allows you. So what it did was he had something called a Chaos Burst, which I think gave him additional damage.
That's what I did. That's why I thought he was. That's why I thought he was a wild magic barbarian. I'm not.
When he said Chaos, yeah. And then he said he had another thing called Gravity Build. Enemies within 15 feet seem to be pulled towards Ashton and suffer disadvantage on attacks against creatures other than him, which is kind of like
really
it's
good. That's really good.
What's it called? It's that's an aggro kind of ability. It's for you to like taunt. You have a similar thing as Lug.
Yeah, it's called a taunt.
A taunt, essentially, yeah, where you can pull them in, and you kind of it's more beneficial for them to attack you. But again, you are the barbarian; you can take the hits. That's kind of the point of the class.
It's actually just like how the Ancestral Guardians level 3 thing works. Because the whole thing is like, if they're going to hit anyone who isn't you, they have disadvantage. But if they're going to hit you, they have either a straight roll or advantage because you're a barb and you're rolling recklessly. So like the whole idea is to make it obviously the most beneficial to try and attack you rather than squish your teammates.
So I think we'll see. I'm sure we'll get an update on that at some point. There's a distinct possibility, if it is from the new book, that Matt will just hold off on it until the new book comes out, which is in the new year, I believe.
Which one? Tal'Dorei or Netherdeep?
Tal'Dorei.
Tal'Dorei is until March.
is early 22. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Netherdeep is March. Tal'Dorei is early 2022. I think.
Uh,
No,
so
sorry.
it probably will.
Oh no, yeah. Tal'Dorei says Tal'Dorei Reborn is late 2021, early 2022. First at Darlington Press, and then
Yeah.
the Critical Role shops, and then Netherdeep then is March 15th.
So we'll get them some point in the next couple of months. We'll probably find out what he's actually playing and get a definitive class in that book.
I'd say we'll find out maybe like 2-3 episodes time what everyone is. Honestly, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, that's kind of the good thing about starting at level 3.
You know? Yeah, totally.
Say again?
I said, they're obviously going to want to show off all their, like, everyone. That's the fun thing about one shots. It's the fun thing about new campaigns. Everyone comes in like, oh, I can't wait to show you what I can do. Like, that's the whole thing.
So something just occurred to me as well. What if, and this is just an addendum to what we said earlier, what if Marisha's character Laudna is actually like the daughter of
the Briar
Briarwoods?
That was another thing I was thinking as well. But like, can vampires reproduce? I don't think so.
I mean, well, Dampiers are a thing, which would then justify how she is a Dampier.
Yeah.
If that is, and it's well, I think if
that would be a fun story as well. That would be like a really fun plot, because like either she goes the way where like I came from evil stock, but I'm not evil myself, and I want to be my own person, or she's like. I'm traveling with this group until I can. So I'm looking for the people who killed my parents, so I can destroy them. And then Orym is there and is like, "Hi, I know Keyleth of the Airishari."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that can make for some really really fantastic roleplay between the two. If it's like, I work for Keyleth of the Airishari. You mean Keyleth from Vox Machina? Yeah, that's the one. Oh yeah, she murdered my parents.
No, she's like, I would very much like to meet her in a room where she's unarmed and on her own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 9th level disintegrate.
Oh god, no! Like if Keyleth still has a Spire to Conflux, GG Nordy, like.
yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we got for the moment.
Did not cover our new edition.
Oh, sorry. The thing I'm looking at here doesn't have Robbie in the same thing. We have a guest, which hasn't happened before, but on the very first episode of the pod of this campaign, we have a guest star, and it is Robbie Damon.
Yeah, is he temporary? I thought I didn't see anywhere whether he was temporary or permanent.
I think. Did I see it, or did Gavin tell me he saw it online somewhere? I think he saw it that Robbie is a regular guest star as normal. I think he's. Yeah.
Yeah, because like Travis wasn't introduced till very very late, like almost the end of the episode, when Robbie Damon was introduced with his character from Exandria Unlimited. If any of you
Torian Storm, the Air Ganassi part.
We've got 2 Ganassi in one party. That's got to be the only time.
I love it.
That's got to be the only time in the history of D&D. Air and Earth.
Ganassi, man.
I know. I've never been super attracted to anything they do. I'm just like,
I just think they're like mechanically, it's okay. Mechanically, fire and water are really good. Mechanically, air and earth are not particularly great. They're definitely the weaker of the two. But I just absolutely love. I love the themes that come with like all the elemental stuff. Like, because I feel like you could play any one of those, like play a wizard, for example, and then choose all the bloody earth spells you can possibly muster, so that you're just like you're a Terromancer, you're an earthbending wizard, or go with like a fire Ganassi, and then pick the Storm Herald with the fire bonus thing, or a wildfire druid, and just double down on all that fire stuff. I think for thematics, Ganassi are fantastic. I love them.
Yeah, that's fair. They're very good for like that elemental magic. It's like picking a Dragonborn and picking a Dragonborn spellcaster and just picking all like the draconic related spells and like leading super into that. No, I did.
I had an idea once that I haven't got to play out yet for a Storm Sorcerer, which I've always wanted to play. But I'd pick an Air Ganassi and I'd make it that he had like storm tattoos all over his hands, and he'd just conjure in. He'd be like a sky pirate or something, and he'd conjure in storms and control weather and stuff like that.
I have an idea. You're just while we're talking about there, it's what you said there just reminded me of an idea I have for something similar, which is sort of inspired by Klaus from the Umbrella Academy, which would be like if I were to ever play a necromancer, I'd love to play a necromancer that's got like a Ouija board tattooed across his fingers, there.
Yeah.
And then like when you animate dead, you just like put together your fingers to like yes, no, like where whatever you want to be.
Yeah, that'd be cool actually. Just kind of doing all the different combinations, just layer them on
Actually,
top
do
of
you know,
one another like
probably,
that.
actually, no, that would actually probably work better for. Isn't that rogue undead subclass? The because
Well,
I was fucking around building rogues during the week, and there's two I really want to play, which is the soul knife, and
oh,
there's
that's great.
soul knife is so goddamn cool. I built a soul knife that took the thrown weapon fighting style, so you could just like assassinate people from far away with all your not your like psychic blades, and like,
Yeah,
when you kill someone, they just disappear.
yeah.
You can like JFK magic bullet someone with a blade.
I was gonna say you can do the ice bullet thing, but it just dissipates. Yeah.
Dude,
Is this which it's you could also do the College of Spirits.
yes, that one would be particularly cool. That would be if you were going
Bard,
the
yeah.
full Klaus build. I think if you were going the
Yeah.
full Klaus from Umbrella Academy.
And I think that fits perfectly as well because the the Bard class is obviously charisma based. I think Klaus is a very
Yeah.
charismatic person.
He had
you know?
a cult.
He had his own cult. So I think I think that'd be really cool as a build.
It's the Phantom Rogue.
Yeah, they're cool. They can do a thing where like they hit someone and then I think they make all their sneak attack into necrotic.
Yeah.
And then someone next to them takes half that amount within 30 feet or something. It like jumps and someone nearby takes half of the amount they took in necrotic damage. Or
Yeah,
something like
so
that. I
the,
can't
the
remember.
initial sneak attack is regular piercing or whatever because you're probably using a dagger. But then after that, it's after you deal the sneak attack to a creature on your turn, you can target the second creature you can see within 30 feet of the first creature. Roll half the number of sneak attack dice for your level round up, and the second creature takes necrotic damage equal to that as wails of the dead sound around them for a moment. So good, and as well like Whispers of the Dead. Then is their third level feature. Whenever you take a long rest, you can wake up with a different tool proficiency. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all just really good, but not in campaign 3 of Critical Role, sadly.
No. Like I said, I was. I'm interested to see where we go because like we talked a lot about the characters. They're in like so Robbie
Robbie's
is
the
back.
Bard.
Robbie is fantastic. Robbie is brilliant. He's really really good. I really like
welcome addition to the party as well. He's great.
Absolutely. I think Robbie is his character Dorian was with Fern and Orm in the Exandria Unlimited limited campaign. The limited Exandria Unlimited campaign.
The most ironically named campaign in the world.
Yeah. But he was with them, and I think it kind of works very well that he would kind of come along as an introduction, and they'd be there as a group, and he can kind of peel off and do his own thing after a while. And I'm sure he'll pop back in and reoccur as characters tend to do.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get too much of that in campaign 2, but I think that was mostly COVID related.
Yeah, totally.
They got plenty of guests early on, and then
like you can be sure that if there
well.
wasn't COVID, like Shikasta would have shown up in the final battle or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or Kiri or not Kiri. Sorry. What was Mark Humes' character? Kaliana.
Kaliana. Yeah.
I guarantee a bunch of them would have come back, and I can't remember Ashley Birch's character's name. She was awesome. She was a dwarf. Keg. Yeah, Keg would have come back. You know, we would have had some really, really great return characters.
Probably. What was Deborah Ann Wall's character's name again? Twiggy. Yeah, she probably would have came back at some point as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, COVID really robbed us of some awesome returning characters. So unfortunately,
it did, and that's something I loved about campaign 1 is that Will Friedle and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn came back regularly, and they were great together. They work really well together and with the group, and they were always fantastic.
Zara and Cash.
Catch-all.
Yeah.
They were great. I am. To get off characters just very, very briefly, I am so pumped for Marquette as a setting. Like not just with Critical Role, but with the upcoming book. I feel like Critical Role Campaign 1 was your very, very... I don't know how else to phrase it other than vanilla, but vanilla doesn't do it justice because it makes it seem like it's very plain. Yeah, it's classic. It's your classic Western
hero's journey
fiction. It's a hero's journey. There are kings and queens, and there are dwarves that act like dwarves and elves that act like elves, and things aren't too complicated. You know, it's very typical for D&D, not in a bad way. It's recognizable, it's familiar, and it's a great campaign. In campaign 2, Matt had some very unique ideas he wanted to get across between like authority and imperialism, and The whole empire had like a whole German kind of vibe to it, kind of a Central European, like a Holy Roman Empire kind of vibe to it, which is not holy or Roman. Um, but yeah, it had a really cool. Actually, I don't think they were an empire because I don't think they actually had an emperor. And that's the only clarifying or qualifying factor of being an empire is that you need to have an emperor or an empress. But yeah, and I think he had some great themes that he explored there. But again, even that was fairly Central European kind of setup and all that. Jorhas was a little stranger, and there was other things as well that he touched on, with the Menagerie Coast seeming a bit more,
Dark
maybe
zone.
more kind of like what would you call it, like Mediterranean
Yeah.
city state kind of setup. Um, but now we're going to this new campaign. We're on a continent that's like mountains and badlands and deserts and jungles, and I'm like this. And I know Marquette is, without being a one-to-one comparison, I know Marquette is the kind of Arabic Middle Eastern
Yeah.
motif, or at least Matt's version of it in his world of like desert cultures and stuff like that. And I'm super stoked to see his take on that. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of the city Drossar,
Yeah. It looks so cool.
Jusar, great name, Drossar, and it's built into like four mountain spires that shoot up out of the jungle, and there's all these connecting bridges and cable cars and
It's
stuff.
so awesome.
And I'm like, right from the get go, we're already in a location that is super interesting. Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped, both location wise, story wise. I'm glad to have it back. Critical Role is something that is just nice to
It's really nice
throw
to have it
on.
back. Do you know what? I was sitting there, and even though I was sitting there at like 3 a.m. our time, I was sitting there like, I'm going to be so tired in the morning. I'm going to be so tired in the morning. And then I heard like, and welcome to tonight's episode of Critical Role, and I just the biggest fucking smile on my face. I had like food. I had like a nice drink in me. I was just chilling, and I was like, oh my god, I've missed this. I've missed this so much. Like I did not
I
realize.
uh, I rarely watch episodes of Critical Role start to finish. Usually, I'll break it up throughout the week, and I'll watch 40 minutes here while I'm making dinner, an hour here while I'm drawing some maps or whatever. I'll spread it out over the course of the week or something like that. And even rarer do I only watch it and not have something else. I'll usually have my laptop in front of me, or something else that I'm doing while I'm watching it, like I said, cooking dinner or whatever. I sat on my couch Friday morning. I put it on, and I ate my breakfast and I watched it start to finish. And it was solid. It was good to be back. It's just a good show, guys. It's just nice.
Yeah, and it's particularly as well like coming in on the first episode. It's nice to be in on the ground floor. Like you don't have stuff to catch up on because catching up on stuff with Critical Role can be very hard sometimes, just because
It
of the
can be
length of the
daunting.
episode. It can be rough, particularly like God, like the season, like the boss battle episode of for the last episode of campaign 2 was like 7 hours long.
Yeah, jeez. That's an entire series. Like
I was gonna say
7 hours is
that's a full
is
time
like
that's almost a full time working day.
like you could probably watch a series like one season of The Office in that time, because those are like 20 something minute episodes, and like you if you spread that out over 7 hours, you're talking about 2 to 3 an hour, so you're talking close to 20 episodes over the same course of time now.
It's two extended edition Lord of the Rings movies together.
Yeah, it's two out of the three movies. Yeah, which is insane.
But yeah, we got some interesting setups as well. I thought in Marquette too, because the thing that kind of kicked it all off and brought them all together was, if I remember, this cart just came out of a side street and it had this like glowing arcane orb thing on it. That like then the cart fell, the orb smashed, and all suddenly, like a table and a broom and a knife and a sword all came alive as animated objects and basically started attacking everyone.
Yeah, actually, I actually have the thing here. Uh, as sunset arrives, Laudna and Imogen make their way towards the home of Vidun Devar, the Widowed Wall. As they travel, they hear a low, bassy rumble and see a blue flash emerge 30 to 40 feet ahead of them from a small cart. A small arcane sphere emerges from it, spooking the still goats, pulling it and causing it to overturn and spill furniture and household goods onto the street. They watch as a kitchen knife, table, broom, sword, and rug begin to stir and come to life, attacking the passers-by. Ashton and Fresh Cut Grass hear the commotion inside, the Spire by Fire, and come to investigate just as Fern, Dorian, Orm arrive on the scene as well. Roll initiative! Exclamation point. So yeah, it just seemed like it was a random thing, but I'm wondering if that's it. First of all, like as far as the first combat and campaign goes, I'm all for goblins, I'm all for kobolds, I'm all for whatever, like orcs, however you want to do it. But man, oh man, a selection of all of the the animated inanimate objects from the various monster manuals and stuff just into one fight. Brilliant. I love it. What a great fight. Because all of them have really cool abilities. Like the rug can wrap you up and you take that, the person inside takes damage and stuff. And then there's like the swords can fly around and just stab you in the air and stuff. The table had a charge ability which did a lot of damage, but it looks like
that nearly took out Bertrand.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was just fantastic. As a concept for a fight, it's low stakes. It's just a little bit silly, but also still kind of, and it's really interesting. And you're not just fighting 5 goblins who all have the same stat block. You're fighting like 3 to 4 different stat blocks of things that have now have come to life here.
It was so good.
So good.
It was, and like such a great way to bring everybody together with that as well, because then after the back of that, basically that's where we get introduced to Bertrand. I think after the fight, once they've cleared them out, maybe because
he shows up in like the second round or something like that.
Yeah, and he gets bodied by a table. And then they spend the rest of it just trying to bash things. And yeah, that's when Taliesin does the Chaos Bolt with his hammer and just wrecks shop. Oh my god, he did so much damage. And then I think Laura used Catapult to shoot a box at the rug and just took that out as well. That was really awesome. And then like we had Bertrand introduce himself to the party and basically be like, hey, I'm a talent scout for a local lord who like employs adventurers to go and do things. Come with me and we'll do it. And he's like, I'm very, very excited to see what happens, particularly with the episode, because we'll be starting next episode with a combat.
Yeah, in case you kind of forgot, so they went to meet this local lord who was like a full-blood orc, who had, do you know, okay, you're not going to understand this reference, in the later seasons of Downton Abbey.
Oh, gosh.
There's a guy named Thomas, and he's like one of the under butlers or something like that in the main house in Downton, and he leaves and he gets a job in another house, and he's really snarky and he doesn't get on with people and he's kind of just an asshole all the time. But he goes to his other house, and the other house has whereas this house has like a full family, and it has like the parents, it has the kids, it has the kids, you know, and there's like 20 servants that work there, so people are always coming and going. This is a really big house. They only use about 10% of it because it's just this one old man living there, and it would just be him as the butler and one cook, and I think one cleaning lady or something like that. And the house is run down and old, and like you walk through certain rooms to get to the living area, and all these rooms are like packed up and in just kind of storage, and all the furniture is covered. And that's what I kind of got the impression this guy's house was like. Is like maybe at one point this was a very respected manor here, and also when they asked if they knew this lord, Matt asked him to make a his name is Lord Arix Ashtaros, Eshtaros.
Yeah.
And Matt asked him to make a history check, and they got like a 19. He said you don't know anything, and I'm like, that's a high DC, and I'm wondering if that's because this particular lord maybe was respected at one point and has just kind of fallen into obscurity and let his house kind of fall, and he only has one servant where he used to host lots of parties and all that.
You think with a 19 though, but that, like, I would give someone that kind of information with a 19.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if he was any other lord in the city, maybe you'd be like, oh yeah, you've heard of this guy in passing, but they've been here for a few weeks. Why would you have heard of this completely unimportant person that no one really talks about anymore? Because his house and his manor and everything has kind of fallen into disrepair and obscurity, I guess.
That's totally fair. I'd be very curious about it, particularly to see what he can do in the next episode, because it's all of them versus him. So he's going to have some wild abilities.
Action economy matters, people.
Yeah, there's like 7 of them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
8 now?
So like
eight, Robbie.
8 Robbie, actually, yeah. So there's 8 of them versus him.
Beast. This is going to be Earthbreaker Grunin in the disguise.
Yeah, I know. Part of me wondered if this guy was Earthbreaker Groom when he kind of threw off his cloak or whatever. I'm like, is this guy gonna tear off his shirt and start doing like unarmed strikes and stuff
Like
against people?
just like quivering palms, Bertrand immediately and he explodes.
Yeah, It should be interesting.
He seems to have a history with Bertrand as well, though, because when he came in, he said something. It was like, "Oh, you know, do you think your false bravado can buy your way in or can fool me?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get such. Honest to God, I'd love to ask Matt one-on-one personally, just for my own knowledge, if he based this guy on this guy from Downton, because honestly, beat for beat, it's so similar. Hey, I bet you didn't think you'd be learning anything about Downton Abbey in today's podcast, Martin.
I'd hope not to, yeah.
Yeah. Did you actively hope before?
It's more of a passive thing. It's like, you know, I don't want to get hit by a car. I don't want to like get shot. I don't really.
I don't want to watch Downton
Abbey.
Yeah.
Those are like my default passives. I don't want to.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Great show. Great show. But yeah. Also, one other thing I wanted to talk about as well, and my mind is
we were going to chat a little about Call of Netherdeep and Exandria Reborn.
Let's do it. I think the Tal'Dorei one we may have mentioned a couple times before.
We've covered a lot of it, I think, as well.
To just glance over it, it's a guide to each region in Tal'Dorei, which is the continent from the first campaign in Matt's homebrew world of Exandria, with story hooks to fuel your campaign, expanded character options, 9 subclasses, 5 backgrounds, magic items, vestiges of urgence, legendary artifacts to grow in power as the wielder does, dozens of creatures, many featured in the Critical Role campaigns, new lore, and updated stat blocks for each member of Vox Machina.
Yes. That one I'm looking forward to having a look through the stat blocks for the various characters.
That should be good. The art, if you want to have a look online, people, that art is... I'm drooling. That art is absolutely stunning.
It's what you'd expect from Critical Role, who most of the time when they do their own stuff go out to like fan community artists and commission them to do the art, and
the critters are nothing shy of extremely talented.
Yeah, they got I'm sure the guy who actually did the initial design for the Tavern of Tales, the new set they have, which is amazing.
We didn't top of the set at all, actually. Yeah.
They've got like LCD screens all up around, so that when like there's a point in the first episode where Matt says the sun is gently going down, going from reds and oranges into the latter lane. You can see the screens that look like windows all behind the characters, all the players. Mm-hmm. They go from like bright to like orangey yellows, and then as it goes on into the night, then it goes down to low blue. So good. I would kill to have that kind of a setup as a DM.
I know, it's so good. But so that's the one book. The one we haven't actually touched on at all is the new official D&D. So that campaign, that Tal'Dorei book is being published by Darrington Press, which is the Critical Role's own publishing company,
and will not be D&D official.
Will not be D&D official, but it will be 5e compatible.
Yes.
The other one we're getting in March 15th, is Critical Role: Call of the Netherdeep. This is the second Critical Role official book after Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. This book will be an adventure based, I think, starting on the Menagerie Coast and then eventually making its way to... No, sorry, I apologize. Beginning in the wastes of Jorhas and leads to the glimmering oasis city of An-Karel and the continent of Marquette, and from there into the sunken realm of gloom, corruption, and sorrow known as the Netherdeep.
This gives me some ominous feelings about this campaign. Because I am, like, when the second this came out, I went, okay, so late levels of Campaign 3, we're going to the Netherdeep, Jen.
Yeah, I would not be surprised in the slightest if so this is slightly different from the previous book, in that Explorer's Guide to Wildmount was primarily a source book for you to learn the lore and regions and all that stuff and some of the monsters of Wildmount. This is primarily an adventure book with some of the Marquette or Marquesian information in terms of maps and stuff like that on the side. So it's more of an adventure than the previous one has been.
I assume, and it'll come with some magic items and stuff like that as well. I don't think there's any I don't think there's any player options in it. But
no,
there will be, like, I assume, like most adventure modules have a couple of decent magic items in them.
Oh, here we go. First adventure module for Critical Role Exandria, taking players from level 3 to 12, which is the perfect range in my opinion. multi-continental story that spans the waste of Jorhas, including introduces the continent of Marquette, and eventually plunges into the Netherdeep, a terrifying cross between the Far Realm and the Deep Ocean. Just for like some lore stuff on that, in Exandria, Matt's world, he's mentioned before how the Astral Sea, or the Far Realm, I should say, if you delve deeper and deeper underground into the Underdark, and then past the Underdark into like the lowest levels of the Underdark, whatever is down below that begins to border on the Astral Sea. It's where the crawling king,
Yes,
I can't remember his name, one of the evil gods in Matt's world. It's where he dwells, on that border between where the material plane starts and where the Far Realm exists. And I'm wondering if this is like, if you just go deep enough in the ocean, do you eventually start hitting that as well? You know, because obviously when you go deep underwater, fish get really messed up.
Yeah, the less light there is, the more fucked up shit gets.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, will you see lots of like weird mutated Far Realm anglerfish style stuff?
The like I was going to say, like the Netherdeep sounds almost very like a magical version of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's cool environments. Then it says bursting with lore, so lore and all new art depicting Exandria. So we will get lore based. That will give us more information, I guess, on Marquette, which is awesome. Includes new magic items and creatures, and introduces new rival NPCs. And it says elements of the story tie into themes of Critical Role's campaigns, which again, like you said, that's a strong indicator that what we're going to see in the upcoming campaign will have ties. In the same way that like the Explorer's Guidebook had some Dunamancy stuff, which was obviously a running theme in Critical Role Campaign 2. So we're probably going to see some similar themes explored in Critical Role Campaign 3 that are going to be explored in this book. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, timeline-wise, this takes place approximately the same time as Campaign 3.
I think so, yeah.
As does the updated Tal'Dorei Reborn, because the previous Tal'Dorei book was, in terms of timeline,
just after Thordak, I think, wasn't it?
Just after the death of Thordak, the Cinder King, and now this new book updates all of that like 20 or 30 years into the future to be on par with
the end of Campaign 2, I believe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's really exciting because like all the books that we've had from Mercer and any kind of Critical Role books, it was super interesting. I'm a big fan of the Vestiges of Divergence, like all the new subclasses and stuff. Well, I'm just really excited to see what kind of new stuff he's going to bring in, what stuff's going to get retooled and kind of done up. Because like, yeah, particularly like I'm wondering now, will stuff like the Cobalt Soul Monk get any kind of updates, or will we get any kind of updates to maybe like the Dunamancy schools, new spells? I'd say probably.
Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties there for a second. It's all good now.
Yeah.
So I was looking for it and I found it there a second ago. The timeline in Critical Role. So this current campaign is starting off. This was interesting to me because I like timelines and dates and history and all kind of stuff. This current campaign is starting off in 843 post Divergence. Which is exactly
20 years post Mighty Nine?
No, actually less now I think about it. So the Tal'Dorei campaign setting takes place in 812, which is that's after the time. So the campaign, I think 813 the campaign finished. That's under the year after Thordak had been killed or whatever.
Right.
And then Campaign 2 starts approximately 20 years later. It's 835 Campaign 2 starts. That took about a year as well, so that's about 36. So now if we're in 843, it's only been about 6 years since the last campaign.
Okay.
In terms of the overall, I would have thought he would have done a bigger time jump than that. But yeah, and that lines up with the official timeline, because they give a history thing of the world.
That video, that's an amazing video. Absolutely go and watch that if you were a DM at all and you just have interest in world building and lore. There's like a 9-minute narrated video from Matthew Mercer about the world, and it's fantastic.
Great art.
Oh, it's so good.
But that lines up because then of course we have characters in this that are taking over for or continuing on from Exandria Unlimited, which took place in 842 according to that one there. And yeah, it was Mighty Nine was 835 to 836, and then 842. So we're only What's that? 26?
Six
6 years?
Six
Yeah.
years, yeah. So we could very well see the ramifications of certain plot lines from campaign 2 in Marquette in this thing.
Particularly because it's been mentioned that Marquette and the Menagerie Coast are kind of like intimately culturally related. The Menagerie Coast actually started as city-states there when sailors from Marquette made their way to the continent and settled there. And I think their culture is kind of intermingled with the locals as well.
Yeah.
And that so they became their own thing. But yeah, very, very interesting. But Martin,
Yes, Connor.
that's all the time we have for today.
Oh man, so good to talk about Critical Role. I'm legitimately like very, very hype for the next episode. I'm considering just suffering through another bad Friday and staying up late again. Like I'm very, very close to doing it again.
I am going to try and watch it. Actually, do we have it next week?
Sorry?
We have it this coming week, I think, don't we? Because I know they're doing a thing where they're taking every second week.
It's just this month where they won't be taking that week. Yeah, and it's not every second week. It's the last Thursday of every month.
Oh, so that's right. It's every fourth week they will take off.
Then. They will take off, yeah. But except for this, I think except for this first month.
Because they're just getting back into it, yeah.
But then after that it'll be the last Friday every month, which is totally fair. Give them some time to recharge and like give Matt more time to do stuff as well like that.
Oh, as a DM who is still trying to, as a DM who is still drawing maps as you guys are walking down roads, and you guys are kind of on the cusp now of potentially acquiring magic items and or vehicles that will let travel between various regions happen so much faster. I completely understand the need that a DM needs time to get the world ready for your own enjoyment.
Scary when the flying chariot is like the least of your worries.
Oh man, the flying chariot is yeah. The ghost drawn flying chariot is actually relatively low on my list of worries, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I just wanted to look badass and fly. Yeah.
You have succeeded, sir. You have succeeded.
Yeah. But Connor, where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on the internet on Twitter at 0.Conor, ZEROPOINT CONOR. That's what. Oh, I forgot. That's the first time I forgot.
Dude!
That's the first time I forgot.
This is getting clipped. How could you forget your own catchphrase?
I'm so sorry. Let me. I'm actually. I'm unable to speak. I'm unable to speak.
So, Connor, you were telling them they can find you on Twitter.
People can find me on Twitter at 0.Conor. ZEROPOINTCONOR. 1N. Very important. So important. You can also find me every Friday here on the Micflayers podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor Breaker, and Radio Republic. Do you know why I forgot? It's because I was trying to get up my list of all the platforms.
42 episodes. 42 episodes.
I'm actually so annoyed. I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, and if you want to find me on the internet, you can find me on Twitter at So Sorry It's Over, which is in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. I'm trying really hard to stop laughing. You can also find us on Twitter at Micflayers Pod on Twitter, where you can normally find myself and Conor bobbing around the Twitter sphere. And you can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Mert, which is linked in the description, where I'm actually going to be restarting my Bloodborne playthrough pretty soon again. So if you want to tune into that, give us a shout. But nice. Yeah, that'll be it for today, folks. So it'll be a goodbye from Conor.
Can I even remember how to say goodbye? It's a goodbye for me, folks. Have a good one.
And it's a goodbye for me. Have a great week, and we'll see you this time next week for another episode of the Micflayers podcast. Bye bye.
If I remember to show up.